I now reconvene the regular council meeting for Monday, October 20th, 2025. Before we get underway, we would like to acknowledge that this council meeting is being held on the homeland of the Tanaka people. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda of the regular council meeting of Monday, October 20th, 2025? Councillor Stensky, Councillor Bassett, all in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Can I get a motion to adopt the minutes of the regular council meeting of Monday, October 6th, 2025? Councillor Popoff, Councillor Graham, all in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. We'll move right into the public hearing tonight. This public hearing is being convened pursuant to Section 465 of the Local Government Act to consider the following bylaws. Number one, City of Cranbrook Official Community Plan, Our Path to 2042, Bylaw Amendment, Bylaw number 4201-2025. Number two, Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 4202-2025. Number three, City of Cranbrook Official Community Plan, Our Path to 2042 Bylaw, Amendment Bylaw number 4220-2025. And fourth is Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 4221-2025.
Mr. Mayor, I would just like to recuse myself from 4.1 and 4.2 as I live in the neighborhood.
Thank you very much. You're excused. This public hearing is being held in person and electronically, with residents and interested parties being given the opportunity to express their views from the chamber, from the Manual Training School located at 1212 2nd Street North, and by telephone. This meeting is being broadcast live from the city's website, and there's a link on the home page that will take you directly to the meeting. At this public hearing, any person who believes that their interest in property is affected by the proposed bylaws will be given an opportunity to be heard. No one will be or should feel discouraged or prevented from making their views known. However, it is important that all who speak at this meeting restrict their remarks to matters contained within the bylaws, and it is my responsibility as chair of this meeting to ensure that all remarks are so restricted. During a public hearing, people sometimes tend to become enthusiastic or emotional. Regardless of whether you favor or oppose any application or argument, please refrain from applause or other expressions of emotion. Restraint enables others whose views may or may not coincide with your own to exercise their right to express their views, and enable all views expressed to be heard in as impartial a form as possible. Members of the council may ask you questions following your submission. However, the main function of council members this evening is to listen to the views of the public and not debate the merits of the proposed bylaws with individual citizens. Those of you who wish to speak concerning the proposed bylaws should, at the appropriate time, begin by clearly stating your name, address, and then give us the benefit of your views. You will be given 5 minutes for your submission. I will call for submissions 3 times for each bylaw. I'll give you a 1-minute warning when the 4 minutes is up. Once the public hearing is closed, members of council cannot take any further input regarding the proposed bylaws, and will then deal with the bylaws during the regular meeting of council held after the public hearing. The first bylaw for consideration tonight is the proposed City of Cranbrook Official Community Plan, Our Path to 2042 Bylaw, Amendment Bylaw number 4201-2025. The bylaw proposes the following amendments to the OCP. Amend Section F3 of the OCP by replacing Table 4, Wildstone Subarea, prescribed densities, with a new table where the prescribed maximum densities is increased from 126 to 252 units. Secondly, amend Appendix 1, Conceptual Development Plan, by updating the map to display the prescribed density range of 72 to 252 dwelling units for Lot 4. And finally, the subject property is located at 950 Wildstone Drive. The purpose of the proposed OCP amendment is to facilitate the development of a multiple family residential complex, providing 252 dwelling units on the site. I will now call on any members of the public who are on the phone waiting to speak tonight to speak first. Then we will move to the residents that are attending at the manual training school to speak. And then finally, we will call on any members of the public who are in the chamber tonight to speak last. If you're on the phone line waiting to speak, callers will be identified by the last 2 digits of their phone number. Or if you have pre-registered, we will call you by name. Please make sure you know which number you're calling from and listen for it to be called. When it is your turn to speak, you will be allowed to unmute yourself by pressing *6, and you will have your opportunity to provide us with your views. If you have not pre-registered and wish to speak, please press *3 on your phone to signal staff you wish to address council. Once you are called to speak, please speak clearly into the microphone, provide your name and address before giving us your comments. Moving to the phone line first, I will now call a first time for submissions.
So Mayor Price, we have no registered callers even to the last minute on the phone, and we have no last minute callers logged in, so we can go ahead and move to the manual training school.
Thank you very much. Moving on to the manual training school. We can see you very clearly from where we're sitting here on our monitor. And if we can do a quick mic test, we just want to ensure that we got the two-way communication working clearly.
Mic test, mic test.
Very well. We hear you very clearly. Thank you. At the manual training school, we are calling a first time for submissions.
Larry Hall, 223 Boulder Creek. Your worship and counselors, my submission to you tonight is done.
Excuse me, can you hold 1 minute, please? We have a timer. I think we were going to, oh, there we go. Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
My submission to you tonight is done so without prejudice. The OCP amendment under bylaw 4201 and of 225 has been presented to you should not be passed for the following reasons. One, the drawings that I've seen for the proposed apartment block appears to me to be a giant cardboard box with holes for windows on a world-class golf course surrounded by modern classic home developments, and the proposal appears to be offensive and out of place. Second one, we have made our home in the greater Wildstone area, and we did not subscribe to what was proposed in this amendment for a 252 unit complex. It will add to road construction congestion, particularly at the junction of Wildstone Drive and McPhee Road, where it'll be an accident zone. Number 3, Wildstone Drive and the underground infrastructure leading into Lot 4 is owned by the individual owners of the greater Wildstone area. The original design of the water and sewers was not engineered to accommodate the 252 units now proposed in this amendment. Additionally, without the approval of the owners of the water and sewer lines, the city of Cranbrook has allowed Shadow Mountain strata development to connect to our water and sewer system infrastructure, thereby increasing the chances of infrastructure failure. And of course, any infrastructure failure costs are the responsibility of the owners of Lot 12, Wildstone Drive. As the city of Cranbrook does not have any ownership or financial stake in Lot 12, neither the proponent nor the city of Cranbrook has the authority to connect a 252 unit complex to our infrastructure without the owners of Lot 12 written permission. There has been no correspondence with me seeking my permission for this huge increase in the use of our privately owned water and sewer system. Council has no authority to dictate what happens to our private water and sewer system. Therefore, Council, you must reject this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Yep. Good. Yeah, so you know, we've got a clock running up in the corner. You can't see it from the manual training building, but we can monitor it here. So I'll be advising you when you have, when you're at the 4-minute mark and you have 1 minute left. Next up.
Good evening. My name is Michael Forkheim. I live at 343A Legacy Lookout in the Wildstone area. My comment has two parts. The first part is this. Of the people currently living within the Wildstone area, virtually all have signed a petition against the bylaw changes or otherwise made their views known. The response rate was 75 to 80%. In the last civic election, only about 28% of the eligible voters came to the polls. My point is that there is a very strong message from the community, from the people currently living in the area. Please do not make changes to the OCP. When all of us moved in, the plan was set. Don't change it now. The second part of my comment has to do with the private road that serves the area. The road is known as Lot 12. The owners of Lot 4, Crown Pacific, currently own 128 of the 569 shares in the road, or about 22%. I maintain that City Council does not have jurisdiction to double the amount of traffic on Crown Pacific's 22% share of the road. In doing so, Council would unfairly place additional and unwarranted costs and liability on the other 78% ownership. Could somebody please explain how the city has authority or jurisdiction to mess with the private road? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments.
Good evening. I am Lynn Armstrong, a citizen of Cranbrook for 28 years and an owner of 348 Legacy Lookout for past 5 years. I am an owner of Lot 12 on which trespass is occurring daily. I already see damages to my property. There's no active homeowners association that protects my ownership interests, and no contact with me has been done. Then there is Crown Pacific, who is not a citizen of Cranbrook and whose objective is to make as much money as possible for his back pocket out of my back pocket on Lot 4 that needs my Lot 12 to make him money. CP has not had to put up the city development road costs because Lot 12 is private. If the city passes bylaw 4201, it will put additional monies into its public coffers and his bank account at my personal expense. This would then make it a liability issue for the city and Crown Pacific. 4 years ago, I said no to urban development sprawl in my unprotected, secluded property. I say no now again, and it will always be so. Construction is already happening on phase 2 of Lot 4 before the city has considered and voted on the bylaw amendment. Looks to be a done deal. The reality of the proposed amendment based on the 2023 provincial and national statistics is that there will be an additional 731 people in phase 1 and 2 on Lot 4. 318 of these will be children. There will be an additional 378 cars daily on Lot 12 and Wildstone Drive. This is a daily trip increase of 756 trips on Lot 12, or 275,000 more traffic annually. There will be an additional 353 bikes on Lot 12 and the vicinity. This means that with the additional cars and bikes, there will be 1,109 potential points of accident between this and the population, of which 28% will be children. This does not include ancillary cars and trucks from the service and industrial sectors. Statistics further indicate that there will be 8 car crashes annually causing bodily injury, 18 bike accidents annually causing bodily injury within the 1.2 kilometer concentrated rural roads of Lot 12 and Wildstone Drive flowing out to McPhee Hill, which already has high traffic trucks and industrial equipment on it. This does not include golf carts unexpectedly crossing that road. That is a total of 26 more humans potentially going to be injured annually. That's 260 injured people over the next 10 years. There will be 90 more school-aged children walking daily the 1.2 kilometer to and from the McPhee intersection for transit and school buses on a dirt country road that has no sidewalks, no snow plowing, no curb shoulder, no lighting, no stop signs, no speed signs, no road maintenance, no traffic control, no arterial or egress exit, no compliance, no enforcement, no policy. This is the wild in Wildstone. This is not good for families. This is not public safety. There is no place for 318 children to play safely. This is the reality that you face now in the moment that you vote. Due diligence has not been met, nor full analysis of complete accurate information by the City of Cranbrook. The traffic study is not credible as it is based on misinformation taken at the wrong time, wrong assumptions of current and projected data. An independent, non-biased traffic assessment is required. Passing bylaw amendment will set precedents for future development requests to increase density. Such an amendment is so significant that the entirety of the whole
1
OCP
minute.
now requires review as the heart and soul of providing safe, affordable, accessible housing is not met. Finally, I am not being given the same electoral representation, fair and equal benefits as each of the city councillors, mayor, and other citizens that is embedded in your oath of office. Approval of bylaw amendment is premature. Additional taxation dollars will be offset by the unexpected cost of an approval. The amendment will cost me money. Even more serious is a detriment to public safety. 26 annual human injuries is at stake. We know that the power of money is an addiction, so just say no. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Okay. My name is Lawrence Kay. I'm at 302 Legacy Lookout. Mayor Price and City Councillors, thank you for the opportunity to share our thoughts on Amendment Bylaw 4201. Let me be clear. We support future development in Wildstone if it aligns with the official community plan, OCP, and prescribed maximum development densities, which are PMDD, of the total Wildstone sub-area and of each lot. These frameworks promote balanced growth and preserve the vision many of us bought into when we chose to live here. I have 4 points. Protect the vision of Wildstone sub-area. When we purchased our property in Legacy Lookout 2019 and built in 2021, we were drawn by the thoughtful planning behind developments like Boulder Creek, The Winds, and Legacy Lookout. We understood that future developments, including lots 4 and 5, would occur, but under the PMDD levels of 126 and 103 units. We also felt that further growth would be similar, respected, and supported by future developers and city officials. Many of the 60+ resident submissions regarding Lot 4 echo our sentiment. We value Wildstone's character and the planning that shaped it. Point 2, protect and support Wildstone's growth within the OCP and the PMDD levels. In 2021, Crown Pacific proposed bylaw 4047 to increase Lot 5's PMDDs, you'll hear a lot of it, from 102 to 137 units for 3 4-story apartments. It was defeated 4-2 due to strong resident opposition, the advisory committee's stance, and support from 3 sitting councillors. That decision protected Wildstone's planning integrity and set an important precedent. Now, bylaw 4201 proposes doubling Lot 4's density from 126 to 252 units, a 100% increase. This time for 4-story apartment buildings. This near mirrors the previous level 5's proposal. Crown Pacific was aware that the PMDD limits when purchasing Lot 4 and has already received approval for phase 1, 2 4-story apartments within the PMDD levels. That's welcome and supported. But this new proposal crosses a line set in the OPC. 3, purpose of PMDD guidelines must be respected. All Wildstone developers have, until now, respected the PMDD guidelines. Approving Lot 4201 would undermine their validity and propose and potentially open the door for even denser development. Imagine 7 4-story buildings lined up at Wildstone, 4 on Lot 4, and possibly Lot 5 if it's ever resold, and maybe someday a small one on Lot 2. New Dawn owns Lot 5 and has developmental plans lower than the PMDD. Thank you, New Dawn. God bless you. While Lot 4 zoning allows higher densities, up to 296 units on 3.7 hectares, this is complicated. This clashes with the OCP prescribed PMDD caps. It causes confusion and frustration. PMDD limits
1
are
minute.
not arbitrary. They ensure thoughtful phased growth and must not be overlooked in favor of maximizing development profits. Engineering staff support bylaw 421 because it fits within the 1,500 unit Wildstone maximum and the zoning rules. PMDD was not even mentioned in the report. It's the same engineering staff. It's the same reason engineering staff supported Lot 4 bylaw in 2021. We are not anti-growth. We are pro-planning. Some feel Wildstone isn't doing its share for housing, yet it already includes over 550 residents in 4 active developments with more under construction and still more PMDD units spaces available. We support growth, as shown by our support of the initial 2 apartment buildings on Lot 4, but that growth
Thank
must
you.
respect
That's 5 minutes.
planning
Thank you very
rules in
much.
place. We ask council to reject amendment bylaw 2401 and continue to support growth within the established OCP and PMDD guidelines. These are not just numbers, they reflect
That is
a
5
vision
minutes. Your
that
5
has
minutes
built
is up.
strong, growing, and an engaged community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ron Forbes, and I live at 340 Legacy Lookout. Honorable Mayor and Council members, I stand before you today believing in your integrity and dedication to serving the people of Cranbrook. I know that each of you strives to make decisions that are in the best interest of our community. And with that trust in mind, I urge you to vote against this amendment. You're being asked to prioritize the interests of an outside developer over the long-term well-being of residents who will be directly impacted by this decision, specifically the residents of Wildstone, who will bear the consequences of a yes vote. A petition was circulated through the Legacy Lookout community. I'll summarize the results for you. 2 residents were in favor of the development, 2 residents who were out of town, 2 residents who couldn't sign, as one was a city employee, the other is the council member who's recused himself. However, the remaining 92 residents signed in opposition to this development. Let's remember, none of the residential owners in Wildstone asked for a proportional interest in Lot 12, a private road. None of the residents in Wildstone requested that the road be built to substandard conditions, and no one in Wildstone agreed to bear the costs of road maintenance, yet This is exactly where the previous developer and the city's previous decisions have placed on our shoulders. It would be both unethical and unjust to approve this amendment. Every member of this council, except for Councillor Graham, who has a conflict, lives on a street that's maintained at taxpayer expense. If there's damage to the road in front of your homes, the city covers the costs. But here, the residents of Wildstone will be left holding the financial burden for any damage caused by heavy construction trucks from both Phase 1 of Crown Pacific's development and the anticipated increase in traffic with Phase 2, if you approve them. A yes vote means that you're asking the residents of Wildstone to pay for the upkeep and repair of a road that serves this commercial interest. This is unfair, and I trust you would not want to see the same situation play out in your own neighborhoods. A portion of my taxes pays for snow removal, pothole repairs, and other maintenance on the roads in front of your homes, but your taxes don't pay for any services on Lot 12. Also, has council consulted with the other lot owners at Wildstone? The APC meeting, it was said that the total number of Wildstone would not exceed 1,500 units. What owner of the remaining undeveloped lots is giving up their ability to fully develop their lot in order to allow Crown Pacific to double their density? Or is council just going to ignore their own plan and allow rampant development with no concern for the existing residents or your own official community plan? Please do not disregard the concerns of your tax-paying voting residents of Cranbrook. A yes vote sends the message that their interests don't matter. We're asking you to do the right thing, to show that you understand the responsibility you have to protect the interests of all Cranbrook residents. Vote against this amendment. That said, if you choose to approve this amendment, I strongly believe it's only fair that the city take a 50% proportional share in Lot 12, so you can share in the operation, maintenance, and financial obligations related to this road. This would allow for a balanced approach and one that acknowledges the taxpayer's stake in the road and ensures that burden does not unfairly fall on existing Wildstone residents. Thank you for your consideration, and I'll trust you make a decision that reflects the values and fairness and responsibility that Cranbrook deserves.
Thank you for your comments.
All right. Thank you for your time and allowing me to contribute here. This is only marginally more important than the game tonight. My name is Mick Lutz. I reside known at 221 Boulder Creek in Wildstone. As a quick qualifier, I have a 15-year career in real estate development, marketing and sales, including golf course communities, high-rises, townhome apartments, recreational property developments. I've worked across BC, including Cranbrook and internationally. I will start with some quick history in that this Lot 4 proposal does not coincide with the original development plan. I'm of course aware this plan has long since legally been set aside. However, what we see from this gated golf course community beginnings is the evolution of the environmental, architectural and demographic profile that presently exists. As such, and when applying an aesthetic perspective, the Lot 4 expansion proposal appears to offer little continuity with existing architectural and green space balance. This certainly is underscored by the undertaking of the clear cut and stripping of Lot 4, which I understand is to include large areas of paved parking. My next item is for clarity. If this Lot 4 proposal were to move forward, I would like to hear what qualifying logic the city could offer to approve this high-density development, thereby creating significantly higher impact on a road the city considers substandard to its own standards. That, of course, is a rhetorical question. The approval of Lot 4 development would create a precedent for future misplaced development applications of this nature. By extension, this trajectory would create an exponential burden upon the current and future road custodians who also contribute to city roads, and with no continued involvement, investment, responsibility, or accountability required by the city. With the common understanding that the Lot 12 road was originally built as a supplementary access, has any impact study been undertaken for the city or custodians on this substandard road to determine if it will tolerate an exponential traffic increase? Finally, from a city planning perspective and using a big picture viewpoint, the Lot 4 extended development proposal appears as a square peg in a round hole proposal. A high density rental only style accommodation, including some units not offering vehicle parking, would generally require a core location priority downtown, or provide convenient access to schools, retail, services, and public transportation. The Crown Pacific Lot 4 proposal application offers none of these. Thank you again for your time and allowing me to speak.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm David Leslie. I live at 334 Legacy Lookout. Just a couple of quick points of everybody else has covered most of the points here, but since this new development and density increase would double the population accessed by Wildstone Road Drive, there's only one exit to the entire development, and it's due Wildstone Road. The conceptual development plat had an additional access route, which was never built. Concerns about emergency situations arise if there's ever a problem at the now very, very busy McPhee Road, Wildstone Drive intersection, and how is council thinking this will be solved without an additional access into that site? There's definitely major concerns about McPhee Road and Wildstone Drive with, I said, at least a doubling of the population going, and a lot of the population there now is retired, and these people in the rental units will all be going to work and taking their kids somewhere, and the traffic will increase greatly. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any further comments from the Manual Training Center? I see nobody at the mic. We'll move on to the council chambers. We're calling a first time for submissions within the council chambers. Anybody choose to care to chat up to the microphone?
Sorry, I couldn't hear that. Good evening, I'm David Walls. I'm a resident at Boulder Creek, number 218. Thank you for your time, I appreciate that. I think your vote probably is whether you approve or disapprove of this density, probably depends on a couple of documents from what I can see. One of them is the TIA, and I think the other is the report that was produced by the Engineering and Services Department. So those are the two things I'm just going to look at, because from what I can see, having studied them, there is some discrepancies in both of those reports that I think you need to be aware of before you make your vote. So first of all, the staff report. So the staff praised the green space conservation due to the underground parking underneath the four-story buildings. In actual fact, there are 250 surface parking spaces when you look at the drawings, and there's about half that number are underground parking. And having seen the clearance that's going on already in phase 1, I would say there's maybe half a dozen trees left, and they're already started on phase 2. And so conservation of green space, it isn't there. I reckon maybe about 1% of the trees are going to be there. We're going to end up with 9.8 acres of parking lot and buildings. And that's not consistent with the other lots that are at Wealdstone. Closeness to anything is a bit of a stretch. We are an isolated community by design. I think that's already been made. We're a long way from shops, services, schools, etc. We really are on the outskirts of Cranbrook, and I think that has to be understood. There isn't easy access. If we're honest, I guess anything is within easy access in Cranbrook, right? So, but it doesn't have easy access. Convenient public transport. Wow. I don't know if you know that area at all, but so where the entranceway will be for the phase 2 of lot 4, it's, I've measured it out, it's 1.5 kilometers from there to the bus stop, which is up on Industrial Road G. So if you want to take the bus, it's 1.5 kilometers there. And then when you come back, that's 1.5 kilometers. That's 3 kilometers for somebody to walk. And that's for public transportation. Taking school buses, kids are going to have to walk exactly that same distance. I don't think that's acceptable. The increase in rental units will add to the diversity and mix of dwelling. We already have that, right? So that's mentioned in the report. We already have duplexes, we have single family homes, we have townhouses, we have apartments, and we've already got approval of the 126 rental in phase 1. So why do we need to have more diversification? Doubling the density will mean there are more rental dwellings compared to the current ownership dwelling. So we'll have more rental properties than ownership. That's not what was envisioned. I'll go on to the TIA. I missed a number of things, particularly the problem of the line of sight when exiting Wealdstone Drive. It mentions other line of sight, but it doesn't mention it exiting. And this is a real issue at the moment. When turning left east out of the Wealdstone Drive onto McPhee, traffic barreling up the hill, round the corner, which is made worse now by the introduction of the shared path. By the way, thank you for that. It's much appreciated. But it's always been an issue. We've already had one accident of somebody in Boulder Creek, and there's been several near misses. If you come up, that line of sight now it's less than 100 meters. If you do the math, somebody coming up that hill, I'm an engineer, so I can do the math, right? Coming up that hill, you have exactly 6 seconds after it comes around the corner. That gives you time to look out, across where the fitness center is, up the road coming down, and by the time you're moving out, bang, right? That's the problem right now that needs to be addressed. And by adding all these numbers is just going to make the situation worse.
That's 5 minutes.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Right, Mayor, City Councillors, thank you for the opportunity to address you today. My name is Gary Turner. I'm a retired civil engineer living at 149 The Winds. Prior to retiring, I worked globally, advising and managing transportation strategy and transport planning projects. The key concern is the safety aspect of the existing infrastructure, compounded by the lack of urgency by the city to undertake the second access to Wildstone Drive. Wildstone Drive is a private road that is currently a cul-de-sac. It serves an OCP approved density of around 570 units, with the current proposal increasing that to closer to 700. The effects of any additional growth are not a matter of it being an acceptable increase in the overall density, but the operational effects it has on the cul-de-sac. Hence, the accuracy of the TIA modelling is paramount, and is paramount in reflecting what is really going to happen. The modelling presented by Watt for Crown Pacific uses a baseline traffic load of around 77 traffic movements per hour in the AM peak. This was based on a 2-hour study at that intersection to determine the traffic movements. However, a year-long traffic count, 365 days, 24 hours a day, was taken from August the 9th to 2024 through to August the 8th, 2025. And that demonstrates that the AM peak hour movements for the same month of July are actually 160, over twice the model value. And this is just in and out of Wildstone Drive. There are still another 3 arms to the intersection with even greater traffic movement that the Wildstone traffic is trying to interact with. This is a major anomaly in the model. In modelling the residential traffic from the Trans-Pacific developments, the model assumes that the 252 units will add traffic at a rate of 0.28 of the number of units, which gives an extra 70 traffic movements at the existing intersection. Given that it can be demonstrated that the current established part of the development of around 214 units already generates 120 movements, it would be prudent to assume that the 252 units proposed by Crown Pacific will create the same order of movements, if not more, particularly when considering the demographic they intend interacting. There will be a significant amount of construction traffic that has not been modelled in any form within the TIA. The TIA states there's no growth of the development, yet there are another 170 units within 3 parts that are still available for development. So where the TIA cites a total of 290 traffic movements per hour in and out of Wildstone Drive in 2045, the figure, in fact, should be over 450. In summary, the TIA model has been built on poor data input and incorrect growth rates. The outturn traffic movements are 5 times the base numbers cited in the TIA. An even more significant factor that makes the increased volume a major concern is that the city interface with Wildstone Drive is omitted from the sightline study. And why does this matter? It matters because the sightlines at this location are substandard. Vehicle requires a sightline of 130 meters. They currently have only 65. That results in a driver reaction time of being half the safe prescribed limit. To make matters worse, the city has recently realigned McPhee Road. It appeared to be a good thing, but in fact, it has actually deteriorated the sight lines even further, making this intersection even less safe.
1 minute.
These are the facts that the TIA is deficient in reflecting. The baseline figures are incorrect. They underestimate the traffic. The growth factors are incorrect. They don't align with the city's anticipated growth. They've ignored the development pods that are also there for growth. And they've assumed that Wildstone Drive is a city-owned road, which is not, it's private. So therefore, the sightline should have been established at the actual intersection with the development. Basically, the TIA is not a reflection of what's in reality. And the reality is that the intersection is unsafe. And particularly if you're going to have traffic growth without any additional access into Wildstone Drive. So it is therefore requested that if approval is seriously considered, that any approval is conditioned on improved access to Wildstone Drive and it to be in place before phase 2 construction is be permitted.
5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just want to wait until the map gets put up there, Wayne. I don't want to waste my 5 minutes. Kind of hard to see, but general idea is there. Anyway, thank you, Mayor and Council, for the opportunity to speak at this zoning amendment bylaw where the density of Lot 4 in Wildstone may be increased from 126 units to 252. My name is Fred Hushman, and my wife and I have lived at 154 The Winds, where we built our home in 2018. We purchased our lot in 2009 when we were sold the Wildstone Dream. And if anybody wants to look at it, it's right here. I am on council for the Wind Strata and also on the Lot 12 committee, which represents 569 shareholders that owns Wildstone Drive. I am not in favor of increasing the density of this property from 126 to 252 residential units, and here are the reasons why. In 2008 and 2009, when Habitat Developments put the master plan together for our community, the City Council of the day approved it based on the services and infrastructure they were required to supply for the residential density the developers were proposing. This included infrastructure and planned private roads in and out of the Wildstone community. There was also accommodation for a gated community. When they went bankrupt, there was a period of many years where growth was minimal. Boulder Creek housing units were sold at fire sale prices. Lots were purchased for $200,000 and the Wind subdivision went down in value to $100,000. Most of the lots were sold to owners, but they were reluctant to build because of the bankruptcy. Our main road access, called Lot 12, was adequate for many years because of the slow development. In the last decade, things have really changed. Boulder Creek has no vacancies. The Winds now has approximately 60 homes. New Dawn Development built approximately 100 housing units on Lot 8. The golf course is extremely popular and is full most days in the summer. All this is very exciting. As the density increases, our infrastructure becomes inadequate. When all this development was envisioned by the first owners, there was to be a separate road access for the golf course traffic. Refer to the map attached. We have only one road coming in and out of our development called Wildstone Drive or Lot 12. This entrance to the Wildstone community was designed and approved for 569 housing units, and the golf course traffic was to have its own access. The bylaw amendment, if approved, would take the number of possible housing units to 694 and possibly more. If Lot 5 owners ask for approval to double their density, why should they be denied? This property was turned down for density increases previously. This would increase our density from 102 units to 204 on that lot, and the total density would now be 896. And if this carried on with the rest of the lots, we'd have over 1,000 housing units, plus the Wildstone Golf Course using Wildstone Drive. Wildstone Drive, or Lot 12, is a private road that is maintained entirely by the 569 shareholders. It was designed for this type of traffic. The homeowners all own a share and are responsible for the liability, maintenance, snow removal, repaving, etc. The city does not bear any costs associated with this road. As I mentioned earlier, with higher density, we need another access for safety reasons such as fire protection and to take the load off the main entrance. The city should work with the developers in the area to create the second access before they even consider any bylaw amendments. It is a short distance to McPhee Road, which connects to Echo Field Road. The other possibility is the connection to Wildstone Boulevard, which was the original plan. If you look at the map, it'll show you that. I know that the city needs more tax revenue and more low-income housing units, but I can't see how they can vote to approve it at this location and time when the majority of the landowners in the Wildstone community are against it because of the reasons mentioned.
1 minute, Fred.
If the city approves this application, the shareholders of Lot 12 will still be responsible for all upgrades, maintenance, and upkeep. With the city supply second access originally planned, all the owners of Wildstone are part of a strata and pay extra for services that other citizens of Cranbrook do not. This includes garbage pickup, road maintenance, repairs on water, sewer lines, street lights, repaving when necessary, snow removal, and green belt maintenance. We get no credit on our taxes for this. We accepted these extra expenses because we expect a higher level of service that the city does not have the manpower to provide. This proposal will stress our main entrance to the limit and set a precedent for future applications. Our safety will be jeopardized. All the above will have a negative impact on property values in Wildstone. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name's Lou Brigham, and I live at 344 Legacy Lookout. Prior to that, my partner and I lived in Broad Street on Innes Avenue, which I think you can look at as a comparable kind of property. And in talking to them recently, they will tell you that this 1.5 vehicle estimate for what the cars will be there is not realistic. They already have waiting lists for people to get 2 parking spaces that they can't fulfill. They also have issues with when they're cleaning their lots in the springtime, every car has to be off of that lot. So where are the people going to move to from this lot for development? Where are they going to go to? There's no place to park outside of that. And so what really needs to be looked at is what is that 1.5 estimate, that Crown Pacific is pursuing. And I don't believe that it's realistic. And I think Broad Street would tell you that it's not realistic. And so then you start looking at, all right, what if it's 1.75 cars? So then you're over 400 additional cars that are going down Wildstone Drive. That number could even be pushed up to 500 cars. Because if it's 2 cars per unit, then you're talking about 500 cars probably going in and out every day because there is no public transportation, and that people are not going to walk from there down to, getting to Walmart or to Home Depot. They're going to drive. And to be realistic about 500 cars going out probably, at business hours when people are either going to school or coming back, is going to create a huge traffic impact that I'm not sure people are taking that consideration in. The other thing that I would ask you to look at is the number of people that are in this room and that are in the manual training room. And those are the people that are representing the owners at the Wildstone community. Of that, it's 78% of the votes that would be in there. What I'm asking you is to represent those people that are current taxpayers that you got voted into by the people that were in this room, and that there's only one other voice that's here, and they aren't even taxpayers. They only represent the money that they want to put into this property and get out of the property. So I'm asking you to represent your constituents today and not vote down this variance, because it's unrealistic. That's happening in the United States where people are getting voted in, but they're not paying attention to their constituents. I don't want to see Cranbrook turn into that. I want you to represent us. Thank you.
And thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and councillors. My name is Dixie Schmidt, and I live at Wildstone, 158 The Winds. My husband and I retired recently, and after a lot of research, we decided that we were going to purchase property based on this research. as did many others that are in our area. We were desiring, I don't want to sound, anyway, we were desiring for our dream, and our dream is what we saw. Our dream is what we bought into, as did many others. I'd ask you to look at the map that Fred had showed you earlier, and to see that this shows the unit allotment, which is shown on pod 4. It's 128 shares. This has been brought up over and over, and it matters. It matters to each and every person that lives there. Below that, you will see that pod 5 has an allotment of 102 shares. I know that some of you that were on council when Crown Pacific originally purchased and owned pod 5. At that time in 2021, they had asked for an amendment of the OCP. Council denied this. They denied it for many reasons, and some of those reasons have not changed. Subsequently, Crown Pacific sold pod 5 to another developer and then purchased pod 4. They're now asking for another amendment. So what has changed since 2021? Some things have and some haven't. First, let's look at the things that have not changed. I'd like to think that council has maybe had the opportunity in the last while to drive out there and view these properties, view lot 12, view lot 4, view lot 5, to better understand why these views are so important. Lot 12 has not changed. It is still a long, narrow, private road. It has 2 golf cart crossings, which can be dangerous at different speeds. People that aren't used to it, traffic that's coming in that hasn't been there before. It still does not have a second egress. This is very important in light of living through fires in different areas and not having the ability to get out in an emergency. It still doesn't have sidewalks or transit. That's been brought up as well. Children on the street, bikes, aging population, all of that brings into effect the opportunity for some human error to cause human damage. The owners of this road, Lot 12, are still liable for the private road, not the city. Through no fault of their own, the golfers and the golf clubs still don't have their own entrance. Lot 12 does not have that emergency exit to support any of that. The golf course does have a makeshift option through its maintenance yard, but this access remains locked 6 months out of the year to protect their equipment and their property. Who is going to manage that if that happens? Who is going to be in the middle of winter to open that gate? I think that we all agree that 4 years later, the city is under a lot of pressure to get some rental units built, as this is much needed and will bring revenue to the city in the property taxes. It's time to continue that development. A lot of people here aren't against the development itself. They're against adding the additional units. Things that have changed for the city, that they will get rental units with phase 1, 126 rental units. These are going to be built, and work is well underway and ready for this build. Crown Pacific is committed to this phase, whether phase 2 gets passed or not. Crown Pacific makes good profit on these 2 buildings. So phase 1 is good for the city, it's good for the developer, and it's also good for Wildstone. We get the orderly development that was planned for originally on this private road. There's no need to pass phase 2. Phase 2 would be an overload. Phase 2 opens my final point. What happens to the developer who purchased pod 5 if the city allows 252 rental units on pod 4? This pod 5 owner purchased in good faith, knowing that he could build using Plan NEP 8633.
1 minute.
He is registered and the unit allocation was 102 units. What does he build? Does he try and sell this now that he could have a potential 4 apartment buildings beside him? Or does the city come back and agree to him being able to add more density? The orderly development that was planned for this private road has been destroyed if the higher density is approved on pod 4. We didn't buy into this. We bought into the plan NEP 86333 as it was registered when we purchased our properties. Any changes to this plan would be unfair and not necessary. Please use the information that's been provided by myself and others here to guide and support a well-informed decision that reflects the community concerns and their investments. I ask you, please vote no on this.
Thank you very much. Anybody else in the chamber wish to speak?
Good evening, Mayor Price and Council. My name is Brett Gies. I'm from Crown Pacific Development Corporation. We're the applicant here tonight. So I mainly want to take an opportunity to just address some of the comments made. But I mean, I know there's staff did a great job of putting together a thorough summary of our application before you tonight, so I'm not going to spend the time kind of going through all the factual details of that, other than to say, which I know has been made clear throughout the our application package, but this application is fully consistent with the current zoning bylaw in place. We're not looking for any amendments in terms of height, density, or any other prescribed criteria within the zoning bylaw. The same goes for the official community plan. So everything is fully consistent with the official community plan in terms of design criteria, prescribed density, other than the specific, very specific and prescriptive conceptual plan from the original developer's vision for Wildstone, which I know has been addressed tonight. You know, what was represented by the original developer, the slow growth, the financial struggles, just all the challenges that have brought things forward to today, where you have two large parcels of land, one of which is Lot 5, currently vacant, and Lot 4, which we're talking about here tonight. The reality is that over the last 20 years, the needs of the community of Cranbrook, trends throughout the province and throughout the country, they've changed. They've and even more so over the last 5 years, we've seen a change in demographics, what people are, you know, looking for, and that's to do with, you know, points in individuals' life circumstances, both age-driven and financially driven. You know, I'm sure everybody would love to have a large single-family home, but now that those are pushing close to $1 million, that's just you know, simply not a luxury that all can be afforded. So, yeah, one point being that the exceeding of the original planned the original planned units for this phase, which was the original developed phase and original golf course of the Wildstone sub area. So it was mentioned that that an actual minimum number of units for the Wildstone sub area is 1,500. Now that was a minimum cap, and I believe that the maximum range was somewhere around 2,500 or more. So by adding these units.
1 minute.
Oh boy, that went by quickly. Okay, had so many points I want to get to. So yeah, I guess in closing, I mean a big point around the traffic for the area. There was a parallel drawn to Broad Street's you know, a real life project on Innes Avenue that was done a few years ago. And one thing I'd like to point out there, so you have large 3-bedroom townhomes, no underground parking, a large mix of 3-bedroom apartments. Here we're talking actually a large percentage of 1-bedroom 1-bedroom and den and some 2 bedrooms. So proportionately
5 minutes.
a lot smaller parking count. Sorry, I couldn't get to my other
No
point.
problem.
But
No, just,
Thank-
I
thank
think
you.
there's a question
oh
for you.
yeah, yeah. if I can
Councilor
pick-
Bissett.
Yes, thank you. So it was mentioned by one of the speakers that they envisioned that pretty much the entire lot, 9.8 acres, would be covered with asphalt. Is that your vision for the development?
No, so one unique aspect of this lot, there's actually a large utility right of way that bisects the property, which actually makes it very challenging for any sort of, sprawled development per se, like single family, or because that utility corridor, which is basically no build and needs to remain a green belt essentially, and it bisects the 2 phases of our proposed development. It's about, I don't have the number off the top of my head, but it's about 2 acres of like basically undevelopable green belt.
Can I clarify? So the only undeveloped part would be on that utility corridor? The rest, like, is there landscaping around the building?
Yeah, there'll be extensive landscape pockets around. Yeah, it's by no means all asphalt.
Councilor Papa.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So you're in phase 1 right now. As a regular golfer at Wildstone, I've watched the landscaping, if you will, being removed for phase 1. Should this go, and phase 1 is on the way and it's going to be completed and there's going to be occupancy, what's your vision for timeline for, should it go, for starting phase 2 and completion of phase 2?
So our ideal would be to be granted approval. We would then move directly to a development permit, and it would just be a continuation. So no interruption between phases would be the most efficient and least interruption for ourselves and the entire community.
Sure. So hypothetically, occupancy phase 1, 2027-ish, phase 2, hypothetically 2030-ish. Is that a ballpark?
No, we'd be, I would say from start, I mean, we've obviously started some ground preparations, but actual construction start date, spring of 26, would be a 24 to 30 month total build time to completion.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question.
Further council? Thanks, Brett. Okay, I'll now call a second time for submissions. Anyone on the phone who wishes to speak?
So there's no new callers, Mayor Price?
Thank you. Moving to the manual training school. Anyone at the manual training school who wishes to speak? Yep. Sorry, coming up. I see some movement in the back. Is that somebody coming up to speak? Nope. Okay. Seeing nobody present there, I will now back to the chamber. Anybody who wishes to speak. Okay, I will now call a third and final time for submissions. Anyone on the phone who wishes to speak?
No callers.
Nobody? Okay, moving to the manual training school. Any further comments? Nothing. And lastly, back to the chamber. Any more comments from the people in the chamber? Hearing no further comments, I now close the public hearing for the proposed City of Cranbrook Official Community Plan, our Path to 2042 bylaw amendment, bylaw number 4201, 2025. Thank you very much. The next bylaw for consideration tonight is the proposed zoning amendment bylaw number 4202, 2025. The bylaw proposes the following amendments to the city's zoning bylaw. Amend the comprehensive development map for the Wildstone sub-area and Highlands sub-area to reflect the change in density associated with the OCP amendment for the same parcel located at 950 Wildstone Drive. Moving to the first phone, I will now call first time for submissions.
Mayor Price, we have no registered callers for this and we have no callers on the line.
Thank you. Moving to the manual training school, we're calling for a first time for submissions. Oh, somebody's coming up. Nope. Leaving, eh? Okay. Moving to the council chambers, we're calling a first time for submissions. Councilor Peabody.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wonder if it's willing to say that if someone spoke to the prior public hearing that we just completed, that they can also speak to this item as well?
Sorry?
If they spoke to the last item that we were just discussing, they can also speak to this one as well?
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I will now call a second time for submissions. Anyone on the phone who wishes to speak? I'll move into the Manual Training Center. Anyone wishing to speak? And now finally back to the chamber. Anyone who wishes to speak to the proposed bylaw? I will now call a third and final time for submissions. Anyone on the phone who wishes to speak? Moving to the Manual Training School. Any further comments? Lastly, back to the chamber. Any more comments? You could speak again to this amendment.
Mr. Mayor, the question is, the gallery's not familiar with what this hearing, specific hearing is about. It's not about the Wildstone property, Fred. It's about a total different piece of land in a different part of Cranbrook.
Oh,
We're in the bylaw of Wildstone.
Yeah.
Oh, we are in the bylaw of Wildstone? Sorry, my apologies. No, the public hearing's already over, Fred. I'm sorry.
Hearing no further comments, I now close the public hearing for the proposed zoning amendment bylaw number 4202, 2025. The next bylaw for consideration tonight is the proposed City of Cranbrook Official Community Plan, our Path to Cranbrook 2042 bylaw amendment number 4220, 2025. The bylaw proposes to amend Schedule 1 land use map by changing the land designation for a portion of Lot 1, District Lots 4 and 22, Kootenay District Plan EPP 7196 from median density residential to high density residential. The subject property is located on a portion of 1501 First Street South. Similar to the previous bylaws, we will call for submissions first for residents who may be calling into the public hearing tonight. Moving to the phone first. I now call it first time for submissions.
Mayor Price, we have no callers on the phone.
Moving to the Manual Training School. I'll call first time for submissions. Seeing none, we'll Move to the chamber. We are calling for a first time for submissions. Gentlemen,
Mayor Price, pardon me, Mayor Price, councillors, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to this amendment tonight. I'm Francis Dwyer. I live at number 121 17th Avenue, which is Upper Baker Garden. I speak tonight in opposition to the amendment concerning Area C. Excuse me. I will have 5 supporting reasons for what I'm about to say. The first is the special nature of the property in question. It is what is known by planners as an urban oasis. It's remarkable. It's a cathedral-like grove with no vehicle traffic, no bikes, no scooters racing through. It is a cathedral-like setting. It is very peaceful. This is also sometimes referred to as a pocket park in a city. All the more remarkable because it's virtually downtown. And these properties are precisely valuable because they're often discovered unexpectedly, and they are places for reflection and solace and contemplation. Another aspect of the Area C is its relationship with the finest heritage building in Cranbrook, a remarkably beautiful structure. It is in effect the front acreage or the front yard of that fine building. So it's a very valuable space, both for heritage and for its remarkable nature. The second reason is the existing use, which is a wonderful model project which houses people who have disabilities, those who have suffered adverse circumstances which qualify them, or they're aged. Not me. Being 83, I am just entering my prime. It's a model development. It's beautiful. And I think the people who conceived it, who built it, and the city itself can be extremely proud of it. I think it's astonishing. It's graced by 12, I hesitate to say 13, by 12 fine, mature trees with extensive canopy. And these do a great deal to blunt noise. It's not far away from very busy 14th, and also absorb pollution. In relation to the project, I have some concerns about traffic. I went out this morning in rush hour for half an hour. It was cold and it was foggy, and I counted 87 vehicles. Well, sorry, 2 of them were cyclists, and 1 was an intrepid skateboarder, no less, at that hour. The issue is not so much that, which sounds fairly moderate in half an hour, but the fact that it intersects with 14th, which at that time of day, between 7:30 and 8:30, was a constant stream of traffic. Now, in the proposed development, these will be mostly working families who will need to go out at rush hour, and many of them will have to make left or right turns in 14th, and that raises the specter of accidents. The final point I want to make is about the relationship with the Colonel Baker House. It is currently for sale by the private owner. I don't question for a moment that the private owner can't choose to sell it. And my understanding of the history and his ownership is we can be very proud of how he's maintained the building, and with a nod to the city for the improvements made in 1978. It's a remarkable structure. However, whatever happens to the Area C in question will have a profound effect on what happens to that project in future.
1 minute.
And I think it is one of the most valuable and important heritage assets. I just wanted to conclude on one point. The Colonel Baker was a remarkable person, most notable, I think, for the fact that he is regarded as the founder of Kamloops and had a great deal to do with the expansion of the railway through the Elk Valley. In that regard, they employed a great many Chinese coming to Canada. And I would suggest to you in closing that a wonderful alternative use, and my mother always said, don't object to anything unless you can propose something equal or better, is a quiet, meditative, beautiful, classical Chinese garden or similar. The people who live there, 12 of them, I think, are facing an apartment in what they view as their front yard when they intend to live out their lives in relative peace and tranquility. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. I'll now call a second time for submissions. Anyone on the phone who wishes to speak? What was that? Was there one more here? Okay. Moving to the manual training school, anyone who wishes to speak? Back into the chamber, anyone who wishes to speak to the proposed bylaw? I will now call a third and final time for submissions. Anyone on the phone who wishes to speak? Anyone in the manual training school who wishes to speak? And lastly, anybody in the chamber that wishes to speak? Councillor Statsky.
Thank you, Mayor. It's a question for our planning staff. Can you explain the difference between the current land zoning and this proposal in terms of what it means?
So we have Santana to speak. She's just helping in the other room.
Did I do that right? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Santana.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Sorry, Councillor Stetsky, through the chair, could you repeat your question for clarification?
Yes, certainly. Thank you, Santana. I just wanted clarification for the benefit of people here and watching what the difference is between what council is considering here and what the current use is of that particular piece of land without changing zoning.
Thank you, Councillor Stetsky. Through the chair, this amendment to the zoning bylaw is to increase the actual density. So the type of development being proposed is already a permitted form and character for the site. It would be to just increase the permitted amount of units from maximum of 30 to a maximum of 40, subject to further site restrictions and their limited design or limited site.
Thanks, Santana. Hearing no further comments, I now close the public hearing for the proposed City of Cranbrook Official Community Plan, Our Path to 2042 bylaw amendment, bylaw number 4220-2025. Thank you. Finally, the last bylaw for tonight's public hearing is zoning amendment bylaw number 4221-2025. The bylaw proposes to amend section 7.28.4 CD-4 Baker Park Development Zone by changing the permitted densities from area C from minimum density from 20 to 26 units, maximum density from 30 to 40 residential units, changing the parking requirements to 1 stall per residential unit. Similar to the previous bylaws, we will call for submissions first for the residents who may be called from the public hearing tonight. Phone lines first.
There are no callers.
No callers, thank you. Don't see anybody left at the Manual Training Center. Council chambers. I'll move into a second time for submissions. Anybody on the phone? Nothing from the phone. Manual Training Center, anyone wishes to speak? Nothing. Back to the chamber. Anyone who wishes to speak to the proposed bylaw? I'll now call a third and final time for submissions. Anyone on the phone who wishes to speak? Moving to the Manual Training School. Anyone who wishes to speak? Lastly, to the chamber. Any further comments? Hearing no further comments, I now close the public hearing for proposed City of Cranbrook Zone Amendment Bylaw number 4221-2025. Thank you very much. We'll take a timeout for 5 minutes. Thank you. We'll now reconvene the regular meeting. Next up, we have delegations. We have a delegation from the RCMP, Sergeant Barry Graham, who will present 2025 third quarter report. And Amanda's with him to support Barry. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Price, council, staff, and members of the general public. Thanks once again for the opportunity to report on our third quarter. So under detachment news, we have a new community policing team. We've appointed Constable Carly Monroe and Kristen Galnov, who's our community engagement coordinator. They both bring a wealth of knowledge, experience in policing and community collaboration. We had arrested a homicide suspect we spoke to recently. Calgary Police had requested assistance in locating a homicide suspect believed to be in the Cranbrook area. Cranbrook RCMP members located and arrested the suspect, and Calgary Police Service homicide investigators traveled to Cranbrook, and the suspect was returned to Alberta. Under other detachment news, our provincial CSTEP funding. Very excited about this. We received $327,150 in funding from the Government of BC's Community Safety and Targeted Enforcement Program. The funding aims to reduce street crime in public safety and improve community well-being. The funding will be used to continue patrols of the City of Cranbrook with the City of Cranbrook bylaw staff, provide municipal support services to the General Investigation Team for project work, provide training and development to bylaw staff, the Community Engagement Coordinator, and members. And we're utilizing it for the hotspot patrols for all the overtime members coming in from out of town. Under human resources, we're still experiencing some lows, 1 person on parental leave, 4 on long-term medical leave, 2 restricted duties, and 1 hard vacancy. We had no one depart in the quarter. We did have 1 recruit cadet come in, and our rotable rate for the quarter was 70%. Still with community engagement, seeing good activity there. Project Make Your Mark. So in August, Cranbrook Detachment launched Make Your Mark, a project aimed at encouraging the community to engrave their valuables, to make it less appealing to thieves and make it easier for police to return stolen items to their rightful owners. So engravers are available to use at Cranbrook Detachment at no cost. The positive ticket campaign, so Cranbrook Detachment's positive ticket campaign will continue through the fall. Members have been busy handing out tickets and Slurpee coupons to youth who demonstrate safe behavior and kind actions. And also under community engagement, we have Fetch Your Property, which is a fun collaborative initiative with BC SPCA, East Kootenay, to reunite property recovered by the RCMP with its rightful owners, while putting a spotlight on local animals looking for their forever homes. Cranbrook RCMP will be posting information on recovered property for identification on Facebook page, along with a photo of an adorable furry friend up for adoption. Project 529 encourages bike owners to register their bikes and contact info on the 529 online database. 529 tamper-proof decal can be placed on the bike, which allows Cranbrook members to identify the rightful owner. Bike owners can use the database to put out alerts to the 529 community if their bike is stolen. Cranbrook Detachment thanks the province of BC for the funding for the Project 529 membership. Continuing with proactive policing, working on our foot patrols, curfew checks, proactive patrols, seeing increases in all areas there. The metrics, which I can go into one by one or point out probably the trend in most areas is higher. Reports of police were up 36% over the same quarter last year. Calls for service up 27% over the same call last year. You look at month by month and the file increase. The only thing that really stands out as going down is reports to Crown Council and the approval of charges, which a large part due to the body-worn camera project. It's multifaceted in that our watch clerks are drawn into more of the transcription admin. There's more data to process. There's more for the members to do now as well, in addition to all the extra tasks. And it's reflected in Crown Council as well. There's more for them to view. There are vetting, redaction. So it's a kind of a perfect storm of administration. Mental health calls for service, 3 times the amount in the same quarter last year. And they're the ones that stand out the most. The provincial roadside prohibitions up from 6.25 last year to 23, but down from 46 from last time, or sorry, last quarter. And then we have no real dramatic changes, some of as much as mischief were up like 38 count, and that would be including the graffiti files that are still underreported. Mischief has gone up exponentially, I would argue, if we had full reporting. And that's it for the statistics.
Thank you, Mary. Council questions. We'll start with Councillor Graham.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a few questions, so if I could be granted some latitude, that would be great. Thank you, Barry, for coming. I have a few questions from what we've been seeing and what we're looking at with the trend and with what we have for officers' availability. And it's timely that you're here at the same time as that we are reviewing the citizen survey that talks about policing. So what I noticed is that we have the citizen satisfaction is sitting pretty decent, and that's pretty decent with on average since I've been elected 20 officers, and we haven't been able to see a full complement here for a long time. And I'm curious to know. I know it isn't maybe stated in here, and it might have been since the this report. But has there been any shifts where we've had under 2 officers in the last 2 months?
There have been a number of shifts where 2 officers were scheduled. In most of those occurrences, we were able to either bump somebody to a night or get somebody to come in overtime. I can't tell you specifically, but it has happened definitely over the last few months. We've had to be at least 3 or 4 times where there was only 2 members.
And I know when we put out for overtime and we see officers coming into the community on overtime, I question why the city would have to pay for that when we have a specific contract with the RCMP to give us 26 members. So if we have 26 members and the RCMP can't deliver us 26 members, why are we being punished with $2,000 a day, roughly, your numbers, of overtime costs that come out of our budget? Is there an answer to that? I know we've asked this in the past. We brought this up to Deputy Commissioner Brewer, but we have yet to get an answer. Do you have anything that could answer that for us?
I have nothing above Deputy Commissioner Brewer for an answer, but I can say that we've been in talks with Director of Finance, looking at recouping as many costs as possible. We've exhausted every possible funding stream. For example, with the, it's a great question, with the overtime members, I think we've moved 47% of their costs over the last 6 weeks, and going forward to the C-STEP funding. We want to make sure we maximize use of that. The overall costs that are generated is a difficult one, and I can assure you that we just need bodies. We want to be able to do the product that we need to make people safe here. We need the people. It's been difficult to get to mobilize people locally. We're working on that, regional, more cost-efficient methods, but my job primarily is to get people into police cars and get them out on the street. And hopefully there's some provincial solutions that come forward on that. I fully appreciate where that's coming from. And our intention locally is not to punish the municipality. It's just to get the people in place to do the job that needs to be done. And we'll still keep pushing that up to see if we can get any other funding to take the pressure off the municipality.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And I guess like where it really stems to is that we see it throughout that people say that there are places in Cranbrook they don't feel safe. That they're seeing more crime happening, or there's a perception of more crime happening, and when we're seeing less of the RCMP. And we've been having these conversations now for 4, 5, 6 years, and it's like we aren't seeing results. And so the big thing is what can we do to get these results and either get our members that we need, or do we need to look at maybe a 2-tier kind of a system where we work with maybe 20 RCMP members and then run maybe some community policing to deal with street vagrants, dealing with the encampments and things, and then bring the police in when we need to and allow you to work on more major crime files. I just have a hard time spending or allocating funds, and then it keeps getting given back to us when we have our people in the community not feeling that Cranbrook is safe and not seeing bang for the dollar with the RCMP. And I know it's an issue. It's not your issue, but you're our guy, and we pay 90% of the RCMP cost. So you're our police force. So I really hope that we can get something sorted out through this and this budget season, rather than being here a year from now with nothing offered.
That's an excellent point, and we're open to look at any topic. That was our lead story when we pitched the watch clerk positions, and it was the value of the admin that they could do that got our members on the road more. It's trying to find that healthy balance of you still need police officers. There's no individual that has all the tools and all the abilities that we have. We do come at a cost, and we recognize that. And any efficiency we're willing to look at. Right now, we need more people, and to your point about the trying to be staffed 100%, we did have one window of time where we were overstaffed to the point that we actually assigned members out to other communities in need. It was nice to have that luxury as briefly as it was, but like right now, like our quarterly report was for the entire quarter. Like at this point in time, we have 24.6 rotable police officers of our 33 positions, which is 74.5%. 25% doesn't seem like a lot, but that impact is on the first responders. Like there's still 3 management positions, there's still general investigation. We're struggling to find those 2 and 3 per shift, and hoping that we can, scale back on the reliance on the external overtime. But one thing I can say with confidence is that without that extra help, operations would have collapsed. We've had people, the stress of the workload, that it would be a domino effect. If we've come so close a few times where you're down to 2, why would you come in? That's Irishman's Creek to the other side of Jaffrey, up to Wycliffe, down to the US border. You are the be all, the end all. And if I'm one of 2, it's daunting. And we appreciate the fact that we're able to get people in the police cars for right now. We know it's not an efficient thing. We know it's not sustainable long term. We will be requesting that to buy local and have at least some increase to regular member strength to help with that. And certainly we have looked at, and we will continue to look at every possible option. It's not we're not tunnel vision on the problem.
One last, just an easy one for you here, Barry, because those might have been a little more difficult to handle. I am surprised, and I really hope that we can get some kind of an agreement with IHA in the province, so we don't have to have so much time in the emergency rooms. I think that right there, that's 59 hours. That's a decent amount of time where we could be out on the road. So I hope that we can get there. And I know we've been advocating in lots of other communities throughout UBCM, but I hope we can get there, because that will help us as well.
And to that point, great question or great comment. There are developments coming with our mental health program, where the rollout of the app that will streamline the communication with the hospital. The IH clinician is back to work, and we're hoping that all those things will help cut down on the time. But yes, and that's only time at the hospital. That is not time invested in the entirety of the mental health calls, the non-apprehensions, the negotiations, the crisis de-escalation that happens, whether someone's apprehended or not. So that's part of the thing. But we do need more support to help people in crisis.
Thank you. Councillor Popoff. Yes, thank you. Barry, or Amanda, how long have we been using body cameras? They came in as a pilot or whatever, but we're now using them. How long is that?
We did the training at the end of November, and it came in December.
So almost 12, so 10 months. Okay, now an Amanda versus Barry question. Amanda, the the additional administrative cost time versus the effective policing. Who wants to go first?
Through the mayor to Councillor Popoff. I'm sorry, just for clarity, are you meaning the additional administrative cost of body worn cameras?
The administrative costs and time associated with the use and deployment and after fact, and then the value of the using of the body cameras from a policing perspective.
I will certainly let Staff Sergeant Graham speak to the value of the body worn cameras, from the RCMP perspective. But in terms of administrative costs, it's something that we're currently tracking. When the body worn camera program was first released in Cranbrook, I think it was December 3rd. At that time, we had greater assistance from E-Division transcription and redaction services. And then, of course, as their workload increased, supporting multiple detachments in the province, their ability to turn around those transcriptions and redaction requests to us had greatly decreased, which in turn put increased pressure on our WAT clerks. I can say that Staff Sergeant Graham has been working very hard with our local Crown to bring forward the idea of relevancy and only submitting videos and transcript requests that are relevant to Crown Council, and that has certainly reduced the administrative workload. So we're sort of at this point in a transition phase, because while our workload has increased, Staff Sergeant Graham is looking for other ways to decrease that workload. I know E-Division is looking at other ways for efficiency as well. So I don't have an exact number in terms of the administrative impact, but it is something that we are closely monitoring.
Thank you, Amanda. So this has been pushed upon us, the body cameras. Barry, what's your take on the effectiveness from a policing perspective?
It's a great tool. If used appropriately, it's great as a transparency tool. When it comes to public complaints and questions about force or professionalism, it's on film. It's great as an evidentiary tool. It's limited. I think the interpretation of all video must be submitted, all video must be transcribed, all video must be redacted was a little much when it comes to if there's no evidence. I give the example that if you were called to court to get up on the stand and you have nothing to offer in evidence, why did we have to make all data associated to an investigation available? But it's us working with Crown Council to decide what is a priority, what's relevant. If you don't gather any evidence, if there's no admissions, if there's nothing, if the offense happened and we're just the admin people that come in after, it's really not that relevant. And in some cases it may become, there may be some defense that's pushed forward, but we should cross that bridge when we come to it and not front load. That's drowning our watch clerks, drowning the members, and we're not opposed to it. We appreciate the fact that we have this transparency, that the public can have more faith in us, that they see this is what happened when there's a question. But as an evidentiary tool, I think it was overused.
So I'll take that as a positive then. Just a quick answer to a quick question. Amy Woodlands Elementary School has been down for a couple of years now, Amy Woodlands School, but yeah, we still have the 30-kilometer flashing light. Is that road, 11th Avenue, still required to slow down to 30 kilometers per hour during school hours, even though there is no school hours? Amy Woodlands School, 11th Avenue, they've got the 30-kilometer pedestrian flashing lights. Is it pedestrian school hours for that school or not? And if not, why do we have the flashing lights there telling people to slow down?
It's no longer a school zone.
Well, I asked the question earlier of staff, why do we still have the pedestrian lights there if it's not a school? So I didn't get an answer from staff, so I'm asking Staff Sergeant, is it a school zone or not at Amy Woodlands going down 11th?
That's a great question. If considered a school zone as per like bus drop off or any other activity, it could be something where you could get a violation ticket. Could you dispute that ticket and have a more successful chance saying that there's no school like a pro D-Day? I don't know, but I think it would be wrong for me to say that it's completely.
So who would have an answer to that question? The school board would have an answer to that question?
Oh, sorry, and park zone as well. Yeah, but the school board determines the usage. And we should get clarification on it. It's a great question.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ray.
Thank you, Mayor Price. I have two questions. One, please feel free to give us the briefest version possible. We could have a long discussion about this, but we've received some concerns from the community about a decline in the RCMP's recruiting standards. So folks are feeling that years or even decades past, there was a higher recruiting standard, and some folks are feeling that now there's a much lower recruiting standard. And then another concern we've had from the community is just that the RCMP, and obviously this is across the country, is being challenged to recruit enough people. So as our commanding officer at our local detachment, do you have any perspectives you want to share with the community on that?
I do. I can't speak on behalf of the other detachments and the rest of the country and whether we've had people cherry picked for Cranbrook, but we've had great success with the recruits come in. We're, the older ones, are always skeptical, looking at what's changed. Have they gotten a little, softer in standards? And there's no indication of it. We've had members come in, honestly, that within 6 months, like they're recruit field training and they're operating at a plainclothes investigator capacity. I see none of that. I've seen some really good people come through, and they've moved on to good careers elsewhere. It's been a great experience.
If I may, thank you. One of the notes we'll touch on later in the separate report about the community survey is that some folks who are experiencing crime or have witnessed an incident are not making reports. So for the benefit of all of us, including community members, if you could briefly touch on the process for making a non-emergency report after hours, and even if I'm a person who has kind of a partial report, is that helpful to the RCMP to kind of receive that kind of partial report after hours?
Yes, thank you. Great question. After hours, we have our non-emergency line, 250-489-3471. You can be connected to a dispatcher to take the information, depending on, it doesn't have to be an emergency, but it might be somewhat urgent. And I believe you can leave a voicemail as well that our support staff will get the next business day. And we do appreciate there's so many people, and we hear it that, you guys are too busy, or you guys and girls are too busy to do things. And it's not that. You may have that partial report, that partial piece of information, the power tool that you think is no value or whatever, we may have seized from somebody and couldn't connect it to a crime. And you have to charge somebody with, or to propose a charge for possession of stolen property, you have to know it's stolen. And it would help our cause. Not just, we're not looking for statistics to pad statistics in order to be able to get things. It's just being accurate, and the information's out there. People know things. We have the online crime reporting as well, Crime Stoppers, depending on the situation. There are some people with some pretty good intelligence that can help solve some of our files that we can get our plainclothes and experienced general duty investigators to get some direct sensitive information as well. So I guess the main thing is just, the hope is to let us decide. We take value in everything. The $50 bike to somebody may mean more than the $5,000 bike to somebody else if it's your conveyance to work. Don't think that we don't treat it as any less because it's low value. We're here to help, and we may not always be in a position to go directly there depending on other calls for violence, but we just want people to report. Thank
you. Nothing there. Councillor Peabody.
Thank you, Mayor. Barry, you mentioned with the body-worn cameras that they have to be fully transcribed. Who dictates that? Is that the province or is that the Crown?
Sorry, the cost for the transcription?
Who basically determines that the RCMP need to fully transcribe the body-worn cameras and the evidence before it gets submitted to Crown? Is that Crown's requirement, or does the province say that this needs to be?
So of all the available data, the first step is for the police officer to determine the relevancy. We could have 6 people attend to an investigation. We've had it, and some never interacted with the suspect, never made it there. If I trip and fall and my body-worn camera has data associated to the file, we have to make that determination that this doesn't belong in the court proceedings. We have to let Crown know it's available. So relevancy starts with the police officer, and it's, with the flow with Crown. Crown may come back and say, we know this is available, we'd like this transcribed. I didn't speak to it earlier, but we do use artificial intelligence for the first generation of the transcript. Our watch clerks then are fully engaged in identifying speakers, going into the unproofed, as they call it, not the fully proofed version. But it's, to make a long answer to a short question, I'm going to hear the Oscar music going now and pull me off.
Yeah.
But it's between Crown and police, but starts with police as determining what's priority.
Okay. And just like looking at the statistics that you have here and how you're commenting that with the increase in work, we're actually seeing fewer people prosecuted. Is this information going beyond like council? Like, is this going up? Is this information that you're providing to us also going to Crown, saying like, yes, the body-worn cameras are good, but it's also creating issues with the lack of prosecutions that we're seeing?
I'm in regular contact with Crown on the topic, and it's not that less are being prosecuted. It's more of a bottleneck right now. We have so many outstanding investigations. We're waiting for all the data to be processed. For example, I mentioned redaction, but if I have an hour and a half of body-worn camera video and I've submitted it, any person that's not involved in the investigation, their face has to be redacted. Any identifying, like if you stop and talk to somebody and you get their information, if you see their driver's license, that's redacted. Anything comes up on the computer screen is redacted. So there's some technology tools that help that, but there is a lot of work with that. And the impact is on police and Crown. I can't forget Crown has to watch everything. They're the gatekeeper for the sensitivity of information and protecting people's privacy. So it's a lot.
Okay, so I guess what you're saying is that we're not at the point where cases are being thrown out because evidence has taken too long to be.
Not yet, but to that point, there are timelines that we have to adhere to, like whether it's 18 months or 30 months to get these cases through to resolution. And that is a potential impact with the delays with the body-worn camera. Like right now, to be honest, a simple file before body-worn camera, we could have given somebody like a 2-week, 3-week appearance notice for court. We have to give at least 45 days now. We are delaying judicial process for 45 days because that's the minimum benchmark for a body-worn camera support team to be able to get to our request. So delays could lead to that. We haven't experienced it yet.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Teske.
Yeah, thank you, Barry and Amanda. We very much appreciate the work that you and your staff do. Where did the extra $327,000 come from? How did we get it here, and can we expect it again in future?
I have to give credit to City of Cranbrook, the Mayor and Council, for lobbying the province for the C-STEP funding. Last year, we had $125,000 in funding specific to violence within the homeless encampments. I was quite surprised, and it speaks to the quality of the submission by our team to get the funding, but it's all provincial funding, and everything to social disorder that we're looking at. So yeah, it's provincial money.
Is it still available next year? We'll apply again?
If the template's successful, we fire it in again. The main thing is that we do our best to utilize it. And Amanda just pointed out too that we also had $100,000 in PTEP funding this past year. And all of our projects through GI, we have been finding some way to tie it into our PTEP targets and been successful there too. So like I mentioned earlier, we're doing our best to maximize as much funding from the province as we can, and we will be applying for this every year, and hopefully we spend $327,000 this year and see some results, and we ask for 427 next year.
Thank you, Barry. Just two quick comments on what was said earlier. Certainly, Barry, in the last couple of years, working with the council, our detachment is focusing on community policing model, and it's specific to Cranbrook. And the comment about the question about the quality of recruits, certainly what I've seen personally and people in the community when we're talking about policing in Cranbrook, yeah, I think everybody's aware, that there's a shortage of staffing, of resources, but I can tell you, I hear nothing but positive comments on the character and the role that your officers are playing in our community. So that speaks to something there. So if you could pass that on, certainly to your members, certainly the perception of more crime. We will get into that. The city and the RCMP will be doing a joint communication probably next week sometime on the issues that, is there a perception, or is it we're under-reporting? People are not reporting. This council for the last 2 years has been down to UBCM. We've met with senior officials from the province and the RCMP local here. We've invited them in. We've made it pretty clear, that we think we need additional resources or some specific operations that need to be undertaken in our community to deal with some of this stuff. Unfortunately, their world and everybody's world today is based on data. If you don't have the statistics to validate it, you're not going to get the help. And right now, people, and we know they are. We hear every day. Somebody said, "I'm not phoned anymore because of this breaking." They're breaking in every week, every day. If the RCMP do not have the data, they cannot put those requests in because, and we have been, make no mistake, I think we've had at least 8 or 10 meetings with senior authorities to try and get more done here, and they're saying, "Well, we'll have a look at your statistics." They haven't changed. So there's a perception crime. Well, if we go by statistics, and that's our community that reports it. No change in crime. We all know that's not right, right? So we're going to get more out of the community that way. So yes, just so everybody knows, there will be a joint communication going on probably next week sometime. And thank you, Barry, for that. I also noticed that we have a senior officer in the gallery tonight. Barry, if you could do us the honor of an introduction.
Yes, Chief Superintendent Barr is here to take in the entertainment value of my presentation, and we appreciate her coming out to the district. She's been out several times now since she took over the helm at Southeast District, and been very supportive to the detachment. We fully appreciate it.
Thank you very much, and yes, certainly for the district here, we didn't see an awful lot of your, the previous commander. I know just what I've seen coming and going. You have a presence in this community right now, and that we haven't had before. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Your Worship. Happy to be here. And just to let you know, all of the questions that you were asking, I was mumming myself in the background to not answer over Barry. So, very good.
Good stuff. Thanks, Barry, Amanda.
And thank you for your kind words. I appreciate it.
Okay. Okay, we're going to move into bylaws. The first bylaw for consideration tonight are from Engineering and Development Service Department regarding property located at 950 Wildstone Drive, which was part of our public hearing tonight.
I'll just have to excuse myself again.
Yes. Can I get a motion and a second, for the following motion, please, that subject to council's consideration of public input received up to and including the public hearing of October 20th, 2025, council give third reading to City of Cranbrook Official Community Plan, Our Path to Cranbrook 2042 Amendment Bylaw number 4201, 2025. Mover, please. Councillor Blissett. Councillor Ray. Discussion. Councillor Stetsky?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. And it was a very interesting evening. Really appreciate the presentations that were brought forward by the residents of Wildstone. There are three reasons to vote no to this proposal from my perspective, at least three. First of all is that we should be honoring and respecting our official community plans. Now, there are times, and we have seen it, and we may see it a little later this evening, where modifying an official community plan has little or no opposition. And that's generally because the change to the official community plan will improve a neighborhood, not detract from it. We've seen dozens and dozens of letters opposed to this change to the official community plan. And of course, we had a number of presentations tonight. And I do think we really, as much and as often as we can, need to respect the official community plan. It sets out where the future is supposed to be, and people buy their properties based on understanding of what's in that plan. Secondly, we've been really fortunate with engineering and planning staff, and I think City Council have done a good job. And we have over 300 building permits that have currently been issued recently in Cranbrook. Probably another 200 at least coming shortly with some of the other things that are on the list, including the 126 for Wildstone. So that potentially is over 500 building permits and units. And when you look at where they are, developments behind Save-On over by St. Mary's School, these are centrally located, important, close to schools, close to shopping, close to virtually all the amenities. And so I think, quite frankly, we have enough currently underway. Thirdly, and I've been in government in various roles for about 10 years now, and the people of Cranbrook expect the federal government to have their backs when it comes to things like national defense. And the people of Cranbrook expect the provincial government to have their backs when it comes to things like education. And the people of Cranbrook expect municipal government, and that's City Council, those of us sitting here, to have their backs around what happens in their neighborhoods and in their backyards. So I prefer to stand with the people of Wildstone in rejecting this very, very serious change to their backyard, and we'd be voting no.
Councillor Buelle? We'll just go around the table. I think everybody probably have a comment.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, trying to gather my thoughts here. I would have to say that I have no doubt that the Crown Pacific will build a top-notch development in the Wildstone neighborhood. Looking at their past projects and how they're managed, I've seen nothing but positive reviews. I think what Crown Pacific will bring to Cranbrook will not only benefit Cranbrook as a whole, but will also fill some of the gap in that high-end rental that we really don't have here. I also believe that the development that Crown Pacific is proposing will benefit the golf course greatly. I'm not a golfer, but I'm a snowboarder, and I visit a lot of ski hills, and I see a lot of strata neighborhoods where high-end homes mix very well with high-density rental properties. On the other hand, the residents who live in Wildstone community are strongly opposed this development, at least the expansion of it. And it seems like they're in favor of what is allowable, and that's the 126 units. But as Councillor Stetsky pointed out, the opposition from the Wildstone community has been quite vocal, and we've received multiple letters, sometimes multiple copies of the same letter, and we heard the residents, today, speak up against their, I guess just speak up that they just don't want the 256 units in their neighborhood, but they're happy with the 128. they do raise some valid concerns. Only having one access in and out of the community. In a perfect world, it'd be great to see that taken care of before the 256 units go into place. I would almost like to vote, not a no, but just maybe not a not now. But I don't think we have that ability. It's either now or never. I will be voting in favor of this development, but what I would like to see is some of the issues that have been brought up by the Wildstone community, and that's the Strata Road, which I believe Crown Pacific is saying that they will have an increased ownership of the road than what they originally do now. But also, if we could have staff look into what it's going to take to get a second emergency access point into that community, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Bissett.
Thank you. And further to what Councillor Peabody was talking about, first of all, I appreciate the people who made presentations today, and also the maps that you gave us, because that was helpful, just to frame things, and all the people that wrote in letters. Many people spoke about the issue of only one access as their prime concern. And that concern about traffic along Wildstone Drive, and not necessarily that road, but it's that entrance onto McPhee that's the problem. And so if I believe, now I'm not sure of our jurisdiction on this because it is a strata, and I don't know where the city comes in, but I think we really have to push for that second entrance. And you can see on that map that Mr. Hochman provided where the proposal was to link up to Theater Road as it's going across. I mean, it goes by the clubhouse and comes down and says possible access routes. It's hard for me to read without my glasses, but it shows that should happen. And the developers that are there should get together and put that road in. Then that deals with so many of the concerns. Then there's another way out, another way to get to the highway. They don't all have to go through that Cloverleaf area. And I don't want to see development stopped because they can't put a road in. So I think we need to go ahead with this, and we need to go ahead with getting that second entrance put in there. And that the city needs to work with Wildstone to get that done. And so, roads are for driving on. We need to use them. It's not bad that cars are on roads. All these developments come off the main artery. It's very well designed. When I look at this and when I was out there, you can see where this development is. Most of the people don't live anywhere near it. There's a few people at Legacy Lookout that are looking over it. But other than that, like Winds, you turn off right away. Yes, they'll be impacted by some of the same people using that entrance. But if we can do something with the road, then we solve most of the problems. And then we can go ahead and have that development continue and possibly even flourish. So I'm voting in favor of this.
Thank you. Councillor Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. So as has been mentioned, the second emergency exit was a common topic in tonight's input. And I wonder if Chief Driver might be available to speak to his perspective on a second entrance exit.
Yes, good evening through your mayor's chair to Councillor Ray. Speaking to the second means of egress, is I would say that the more units, the more density gets placed in any area, as the risk does increase. There are, as identified in many of the plans, and as the community used as recently as the last water upgrade to the main entrance, there are secondary egress routes in the area that the fire department would consider acceptable for evacuation. They're not publicly maintained roads. They're not engineered and designed, but during the type of season, wildfire particularly, where that risk is high of community needing to evacuate immediately, those roads are in good condition, can be opened quickly, and could be used for emergency purposes only. So that type of secondary egress that would be in when a community needs it most in the summer season, it is available to that community. It's not ideal. We can do better, but it is there. For the rest of the year, when those roads may not be maintained, travelable, shelter in place is actually a pretty good option for most communities that are that size and that type of density. So from the fire services perspective, in terms of a community evacuation and when it's going to be needed, it's not unacceptable or extraordinary risk at this time. But as we continue developing in the subdivision, it does become more concerning and more risky.
Thank you very much. And follow up. Thank you very much. There have been numerous concerns raised regarding the traffic impact assessment, and management can enlighten me on this. Has the assessment already gone to the Ministry of Transportation and Transit? Is there assessment of that assessment in progress? I'm just looking for some clarity on like the ETA for that, or does that await potential approval of third reading?
So through the mayor to Councillor Ray, so the traffic impact assessment has been submitted to the Ministry of Transportation. They are currently under job action, so that is certainly affecting any potential timelines. If the bylaw does proceed to third reading because of the proximity to the highway and the traffic impact assessment, the actual bylaw itself has to be signed by the Ministry of Transportation. So they will be doing their review of the assessment, presumably then to make a decision as to whether or not they're going to sign the bylaw. It's typically how it works. But I will just, as a side note, that the terms of reference was approved for the traffic impact assessment was approved by both ministry engineers and city engineering. So, but they're just sit and wait right now, unfortunately. So we're not sure how long it might take or when. So we haven't received comment back.
Okay, so to clarify, if we were to approve third reading tonight, would we receive comment back from the ministry prior to considering final adoption?
If third reading, so the OCP doesn't require Ministry of Transportation approval, it's the zoning that does.
Okay.
If third reading is given to both,
yep.
It can only be adopted by council if the ministry approves it.
Okay.
So because they're required to sign the bylaw first after third reading.
Okay,
so
thank you.
Presumably, if it comes back signed, then council can consider it. You can't approve it until they've signed off.
Okay, thank you very much for that clarification. So from my perspective, in the interest of having a fulsome and thorough process, I believe it's important that we approve third reading tonight, because I want to hear what the Ministry of Transportation and Transit has to say about this traffic assessment, because there's been lots of questions raised about it, and I presume that the ministry is the expert in terms of reviewing this assessment. So I want that information, and in order to get that, we need to approve third reading tonight. And I think that's important to ensuring we have a thorough process. I will add and concur with my colleagues. I am thankful that we live in a democracy where people can share their viewpoints and their perspectives. So thank you again to everyone who's shared their perspectives, whether in writing or in person, via email. And I appreciate that we're in a community where civility and mutual respect is important, and that we focus on the issues at hand, and whatever the outcome may be, you know, sometimes we agree, sometimes we have to agree to disagree, but at the end of the day, we're all members of the same community. And yeah, I think that's very important for everyone to keep in mind. So I look forward to voting in favor this evening.
Thank you, Councillor. Very well stated. Councillor Papa.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. A lot of great conversation, pro and con, around the council table tonight. So one, for the record, I'm a golfer at Wildstone, so I might have a little bias as to how this plays out, but I've seen the development occur throughout the Wildstone community over the well, 10 plus 15 years since the golf course has opened. And you're right, it's a vibrant community. It's a neighborhood that the original concept of what Wildstone community should be is what we saw happen in the first, well, 5-10 years. But as with the rest of Cranbrook and the rest of the province, things evolve. And I think Wildstone community doesn't get a pass on that. Everything's evolving, and with that, we have to roll with that. My vision for the greater Wildstone community is a vibrant neighborhood with mixed density. That's just the way it's moving nowadays, and certainly the province is putting pressure on all local governments to ensure that kind of mixed density occurs, and Cranbrook's no exemption to that. Irrespective of the traffic impact assessment, which we'll hear more about if it goes this way, I think the other big crux of what I heard at the open house and again tonight, and in bumping into my friends who live up at Wildstone, it comes down to Lot 12, that private road, whether or not if you could turn time back, would you keep it as a strata private road for all the ownership to have a piece of it, or should it have been upgraded and maintained as a city road? That's done, but the status is this is what it is right now. There is a possible way of getting that road upgraded and ownership and maintenance of the city, and that's to do what we did with Shadow Mountain, a local service area agreement, 3 years possibly before the end of phase 2 is completed. I understand from Brett, there's a window of opportunity, if it's at all possible, to do a local service area agreement to transition that road over to a city-owned road, maintenance, widening standards, garbage, snow, all those amenities that the rest of the community of Cranbrook pays into could be realized by the greater Wildstone community. And of course, having second access to the greater Wildstone community. And maybe one way of doing that is council can put some pressure on the future owners of Wildstone properties to say, you know, we're not going forward with any further increases until that second access is being provided to all the residents of the mixed density Wildstone community. So I think we're at a stage where we need to go forward with this. I will be supporting the motion, but I think we need to seriously look at a local service area agreement. Is it at all possible? And then start that process to see and get those wholesome discussions going between the ownership group and the city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great discussion. Boy, this one is probably as difficult as this council's had to deal with, certainly in our term. I wished on this one we could almost do a conditional approval. There are a couple of issues. Certainly, you know, one entrance. From my background, I don't look at entrance. I look at egress, getting out of there. Okay, so it's two means of egress. You know, they've been that has been a topic for, I don't know, it must be at least 10 years. There's been serious discussion and nothing's happened. You know, whether the city has to force the hand or whatever. I know Shadow Mountain, the city had to get involved out there and force their hand on a couple of things, you know, that needed to be done for that development to continue to grow. Okay, I like this project. I personally don't feel that 252 at the end of the day, if certain measures were put in place, would negatively impact that development or that roadway. Certainly, the build out's going to be 1,500. So it depends what we do with these secondary roadways. That's the difference it's going to make. There's 1,500 potential units in there. That's the build out. That road's going to be impacted one way or the other. Make no mistake about it. I personally would like to see if an LAS is possible, and maybe Mark can comment on that, in a moment, but, you know, if an LAS is possible where the city can be involved and drive something for that roadway for lot 12. I see some improvements that I don't think could be that costly would make a difference. I would sure like to see a turn lane coming out of there. I've been up there and looked, certainly from the one road that's coming down, is it from Boulder? Or whatever, no, what is it? The one that's when you're first coming on the left, that roadway that goes up. There's enough room from there to the intersection where you could have a right-hand turn lane coming out of there. You know, certainly we just saw the work done on McPhee Road coming up. Councillor Popoff mentioned something last council meeting that, yeah, they could, that's a full car width wide there. It's a lane almost wide, and then, you know, you've got more there. I think that there could be room for a right-hand turn lane into there coming up the hill. And still room to take that path on the outside of that. I mean, these are not huge changes. I think there's things that need to be done. Things have been delayed. The city does own the water rights through there, so, you know, we've got a stake in this, you know, that in that roadway. So, you know, we've got the water going through there, and that's it, and that's going right down that roadway. I would like to, you know, I know we can't make a conditional. I wish we could, because I'd put conditions on this and this and this has to be done by a certain time period. But what I would like to suggest is you know, I really believe there's a place for that type of development. I see the upper end, and it's really interesting down at the UBCM. I talked to a few developers, and this project came up down there from other developers around BC. And they were questioned about it. And of course, the Crown Pacific's name come up. They knew who they were, and they've got a very, very solid reputation. Everybody we spoke to spoke very highly of them. This isn't, you know, going to be a development where you've got, you know, the family with 2 or 3 kids. This is a higher end development. This is going to be people like ourselves, even a lot of the people living up there, you know, they might want to get out of the ownership game, and rental may be more appropriate. So it's going to be, you know, the higher end rental. You're not going to get even medium, you know, medium range salaries, or, you know, medium range workers are going to be able to afford that. I think you're also going to see it's compatible for professionals that we're trying to get into Cranbrook, doctors and, you know, nurses and things like that. So I think there's a definite need for it. But I think there's some measures that have to be put in place. And so, you know, I'm going to support it, this next reading. I would sure like to see staff maybe, and, you know, Mark and maybe myself will talk this week, and maybe have a conversation with our engineering and planning department, and just seeing if there's not some of these issues that the residents were concerned about. That we can't. I mean, I don't think there's enough problems up there to make this an undoable project. I really don't, and I think it could be a win-win for everybody there. I think that, you know, with some minor changes, we could meet the concerns of the residents that we're speaking tonight. So I'm going to be vote in favor of this tonight. Anything further? I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? One opposed. Councillor Stetsky's opposed. Yes. Okay. Have a look at this guy. 6-1, 6-2. Yeah. Okay. Next up is the annual taxation exemption bylaw number 4217. Number 2 is it? I'm sorry. Oh, yes, there is. I apologize. Second motion now, in light of the first motion being carried, can I get a motion that subject to council's consideration of public input received up to and including the public hearing of October 20th, 2025, council give third reading to the City of Cranbrook zoning amendment bylaw number 4202, 2025. Mover, please. Councillor Popoff, Councillor Ray. Discussion. No? All in favor? Opposed? That is carried, and Councillor Stetsky is opposed. Next up is the annual taxation exemption bylaw, number 4217, 2025, which is before us tonight for adoption. Yes, Wes. Can I get a motion that council adopt annual taxation exemption bylaw number 4217, 2025? Mover, please. Councillor Ray, Councillor Blissett. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Boy, that was easy, eh? The next bylaws are from our Engineering Development Services Department regarding property located at 114 17A Avenue South. We have staff here to give us a review of the report. Santana.
Good evening again. Let me just make sure I have my right report in front of me. The application in front of you this evening for 114 17A Avenue South is the second reading of the OCP to increase the density designation from medium density to high density, and then the supplemental zoning bylaw amendment as well to increase or to change from the R5 medium density to the R6. The proposal is to put in 24 two-bedroom units. Currently, the density designation would only allow 18. So the proposed development does currently align with the OCP objectives for housing forms, and it is within walking distance. The services, amenities, shopping, and other schools. So staff see this as a supportable location, or the location is supportable to increase the density, and would not see a significant impact to, but the engineering said that there's no significant impact to city services or restrictions that way. There would be any of the offsite improvements have been already identified with the proponent.
Thank you, Santana. Can I get a motion that council gives second reading to City of Cranbrook Official Community Plan, our Path to Cranbrook 2042 Amendment Bylaw number 4218, 2025. Refer the bylaw to the Advisory Planning Commission for recommendation and submit a public hearing to be scheduled for 6 p.m. on November 3rd, 2025. Councillor Bassett. Councillor Graham. Discussion. Councillor Stetsky.
Yeah, thank you. The reason I brought up the question earlier was the gentleman that spoke who does not live directly in that neighborhood.
No, it was Baker Park. This was up behind, it's above that. It's tucked in beside Laurie School there.
Okay, sorry. Yep, I'll come back to that one.
Okay?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Further, all in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Can I get a motion that council give first reading to the City of Cranbrook zoning amendment bylaw number 4219, 2025? Please, Councillor Ray, Councillor Bassett. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Can I get a motion that council give second reading to City of Cranbrook zoning amendment bylaw number 4219, 2025? Refer the bylaw to the Advisory Planning Commission for recommendations and submit the public hearing to be scheduled for 6 o'clock p.m. November 3rd, 2025. Mover, Councillor Popoff, Councillor Graham. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Look at the last bylaw for consideration tonight is regarding the BC Builds project located in Baker Gardens, and it was also part of tonight's public hearing. Can I get a motion that, subject to council's consideration of public input received up to and including the public hearing of October 20th, 2025, council give third reading to City of Cranbrook Official Community Plan, our Path to Cranbrook 2042 Amendment Bylaw number 4220, 2025. Mover, please. Councillor Popoff, Councillor Ray. Discussion. Councillor Stetsky, Councillor Bassett.
Yeah, so I asked that question earlier. The gentleman who made the presentation was opposed to any development on that lot. wanted to keep it as it is. And of course, that wasn't the question we were looking at this evening. And he doesn't live directly in the neighborhood. So as I said, there are times doing some minor amendments to official community plans, I think may make sense. And I think it does in this case. It's not going to change density very much. But I do think that we owe it to our residents to, when they're encouraged to come and speak and they offer a particular position, that we should respond more favorably.
Further, Councillor Bissett?
Thank you. I was just wondering if there would, can we preserve some of the green space in that lot? So that it's, so that there is, like, that's what he was talking about, is the value of the green space in that part of the city. And I'm just wondering if we can accommodate both with this development.
Councillor Blissett through the mayor. The great part about this development and this whole project is that as part of it, we did legally dedicate Baker Park as dedicated green space. Prior to this, it was just a parcel which could have been fully developed. So as part of that, we did dedicate and conserve that park space. Further, with this site design and site planning, the proponent, it is a BC Builds, BC Housing Club partnership, and they are very focused on, you know, preserving the amount of green space that they can, improving active transportation pathways throughout it, ensuring that there's still that oasis kind of feeling, tree preservation as much as they can. It is obviously a complicated site, so there's some challenges there, but they are considering these, the same, you know, those values that were mentioned at the public hearing this evening.
Yeah, I certainly, you know, I think everybody's been on council long enough now that we see that it doesn't matter when it comes to development. You're never going to see 100% of the people happy. We all got our, you know, our different views and, you know, and our thoughts on it. But, you know, when I look at something like this one in particular, you know, we struck the Mayor's Task Force on Housing. We identified needs. We identified the city's role, you know, what our actual role would be with respect to building development and supporting housing with city land. And this is one of the projects that we support. This is worker level housing. And that's what, you know, I think council and certainly our staff were of the understanding that that's what we're going to support when we are going to be directly involved in it. And this is one of our first projects. You know, yeah, I appreciate it. You know, it's a nice piece of land. If anybody thinks it's damaged or you know, it's almost detrimental. The damage was done when they put the first development in there. I grew up here, so I know what that looked like as a park and everything else. And you know, I can only appreciate, I wasn't living here when they did it, but I can only appreciate the people that grew up here when they did that first development. You know, the people come in afterwards, they don't notice, you know, where I'm going with this is it fits in with that. And you know, sometimes it's tough. We got to make those decisions, but we got to, you know, we have to look and, you know, what was council's priority and what's our mandate? And, you know, this is one of our priorities that we agreed on, you know, that would be part of our mandate, you know, this term. So yeah, I fully support this. Further? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. It's carried. Can I get a motion that council adopt City of Cranbrook official community plan, our Path to Cranbrook 2042 amendment bylaw number 4220 2025. Move it, please. Councillor Stetsky, Councillor Peabody. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Can I get a motion that subject to council's consideration of public input received up to and including the public hearing of October 20, 2025, council give third reading to the City of Cranbrook zoning amendment bylaw number 4221 2025. Mover, please. Councillor Ray, Councillor Graham. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, into new business. Next up. Thanks, guys. Good work tonight. Next up is a report from our corporate services department regarding this Cranbrook Citizen Survey, Budget 2026 Final Report. We have Kel Lewis from Discovery Research on the line tonight to provide an overview of the survey and final report. Welcome, Kel, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mayor and Council, and thanks to Chris Settle and Mark Furco and the City of Cranbrook for giving Discovery Research the opportunity to complete this research on your behalf. I'm just going to share my screen and hopefully it works here. Is that showing up?
Yes, it is, and we hear you very clearly.
Okay, great. We conducted a mail survey with 1,600 randomly chosen addresses, Cranbrook residents. We ended up receiving 419 completed surveys back. That was a 26% response rate, which is a really good response rate. And statistics are accurate within plus or minus 4.9% at the 95% confidence interval, 19 times out of 20. Okay, so our final sample was weighted so that statistics shown in the report are of proper proportion to the 2021 census as taken by the different age groups. So it's a representative reporting. We also, in conjunction with the mail survey, we also ran a online survey, which was hosted on the city website, and this made the survey available to all Cranbrook residents. In total, we received 469 surveys through that online link, accessible to anyone. And it was great that the results that we received with those separate 469 responses were similar, and in most instances backed up our mail survey results. Those results can be seen as a separate column in the appendix of the report. Okay, getting on to the satisfaction questions. Was there a question or?
No, that's fine.
Okay, getting on to the satisfaction questions. We asked a number of satisfaction questions with services provided by the City of Cranbrook. Some of the highest rated were fire protection, city playgrounds, city trails, city parks, street lighting, garbage collection, recycling collection, the airport. All of the ratings on this page were highly rated. And going down, continuing down, bicycle paths received an 83% satisfaction rating, downtown parking 82%, public transit 79%, and so forth. And as we proceed down to the lower levels, some of the areas that were rated a little less satisfied, snow plowing got a rating of 56% this year compared to 65% last year, so that's down a little bit. Road maintenance although it's up a bit, but it got a rating of 54%, and the lowest rated was bylaw and enforcement, noise, animal control, untidy, unsightly premises, got a rating of 44%, which was up from the previous year, but still getting a rating of 44%. Next, we asked, would you support a tax increase in 2026 in order to maintain the current levels of services provided by the city? And 32%, about approximately 1 in 3 said yes, they would support that, but 68% said no. In the past 4 years, significant inflation / rising costs. Sure, yeah.
Sorry, Councillor Blissett has a comment or a question.
Back to the one on the taxes. So there was no information given on the amount of tax increase. So it was either like 0 or some. Is that correct?
On that, the city provides, that's correct.
Okay, because the previous year we asked specifically about a percentage, and so now we don't have that information heading into this, because there's a big difference between a 5% or 3% tax increase versus a 10%. And I think there might be a different response if that information had been provided. So I would suggest in future, when we are collecting that type of information, we give a range possibly on tax increase, just to see where the tolerance level is of the public, because we don't have that from this information.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Noted.
Yeah, I agree, but you know, if you're taking it that that's any type of a tax increase, 60% of the people are saying they don't want one. Well, if we'll see later on where what percent want to cut in services. Well, that's pretty high too. They don't want to cut in services, but they don't see. So yeah, yeah.
Sorry, I just got
Make it easy for us.
sidetracked on the slide that we were on. I tried to go back, but yeah. All right. So yeah, maybe what might be best if I'll just go through the slides and then we'll save the questions until after, if that's okay.
You bet.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So in the past 4 years, significant inflation, rising costs have been an issue for Cranbrook residents, Canadians, and people in many other countries. These cost increases impact many of the city's operating and project costs. Has inflation affected your household purchasing power in the past 3 years? So this has remained consistent with 2024. And yeah, absolutely. Yes, a lot was provided by 67%. And then it has affected, yes, a little, 27%. So yeah, the vast majority of people are affected by the inflation. Next, moved on to funding. Since a 25% funding cut in 2009, provincial support for public libraries has remained largely unchanged. While costs, population, and service demands have grown, libraries are relied on for digital access, staff assistant, and as a safe, vital community space, especially during climate events and the affordability crisis. In 2025, budget constraints forced a 15% reduction in hours at the Cranbrook Public Library, with further cuts to hours, staff, and services likely without increased funding. Are you in favor of additional funding being provided by the city to the Cranbrook Public Library in 2026? 55% said yes to that. Next, funding area. The city provides funding on an annual basis to a number of community groups, nonprofit organizations, and service agencies through municipal grants and grants in aid to support local initiatives and events. Are you in favor of the city of Cranbrook continuing to make this type of funding available? 67% said yes. Next, we asked about concerts, events, and festivals. What type of concerts would you be interested in attending in Cranbrook? The most popular one was the concert or music festival. 61% would attend that. And next was a rock and roll festival or rock and roll concert, 56%, and that was followed by country, 50%. Next, we moved on to community policing and RCMP. Overall, how well do you feel the Cranbrook RCMP does in providing policing services to the community? 18% said excellent, 49% said good, and 24% said fair. Would you ever hesitate to contact the Cranbrook RCMP for assistance? 11% said they would hesitate, and among that 11% or 45 respondents, why would you hesitate to contact the Cranbrook RCMP? So among the 11%, slow or no response or poor follow-up was given by 37%, lack of trust or negative perception, 27%, and don't take action and nothing gets done, 25%. Reading for a level of agreement, the Cranbrook RCMP personnel, this is among people that had direct contact with the RCMP personnel in the past year. Then we asked them to rate their level of agreement. The Cranbrook RCMP personnel were courteous and respectful. 95% agreed or strongly agreed with that comment. Treated me with dignity and respect. 95% agreed to that. Treated me fairly. 93% agreed to that, and so forth. So the RCMP were given high agreement with some of these positive attributes listed. The lowest rated was delivered service in a timely fashion, or delivered service in a timely fashion, but still 74% agreed with that. Have you been affected by crime in Cranbrook in the past 12 months? 23% of the sample indicated that they had been. Next, safety and comfort level. How concerned are you about crime in Cranbrook? 49% said they are very concerned. 42% said they are somewhat concerned. So that's fairly high ratings for that question. How often do you think crime occurs in Cranbrook? This is the respondents' perception of it. Very often, 48%, often 35%, sometimes 15%, and rarely was only provided by 2%. In the past 12 months, do you feel crime has increased, stayed the same, or decreased? So 71% said increased, and 29% said stayed the same, and nobody said decreased. Thinking about the number of police officers you see in Cranbrook, do you think there are too few? 43% said that. Too many, only 3%, and 54% said about enough. What are the 3 most important issues Cranbrook RCMP should focus on? So 69% was provided, or people provided 69% of responses were street level drug activity or drug use or drug dealing, property crime, theft or vandalism. 51% said persons crimes related to assault, domestic violence, or sexual offenses. 47% identified specifically homelessness, and 25% said traffic safety. The Cranbrook RCMP detachment have been funded as follows. From 96 to 2001, 24 officers. 2002 to 2010, 25 officers. 2011 to 25, 26 officers. Would you support funding for additional police officers? So 25% were undecided. 22% said, no, I do not support an increase in police. 23% indicated 2 police officers. 1 police officer was provided by 10%, and then 20% just gave a general answer of yes, they would support it. That concludes the presentation. We'll open it up to questions.
Thank you, Cale. We're on a pretty short leash here. Councillor Stetsky, because we have to be finished by 9, or we'll have to close and then reconvene.
Just a quick comment. One of the people who was filling out the survey said that there were questions that there should have been a don't know option. They were forced to pick a yes or a no without having the option to say don't know. So just something to keep in mind for future surveys.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, Councillor Papa.
Yes, and quickly, on many occasions when you're listing the responses, we might be getting a different response if the responder knew what the dollar value was. It's all apple pie thinking, yes, I support this, but if they knew what the dollar value was, we might get a totally different response. So where at all possible, throw in dollar value responses so that it's more credible to get accurate results from the responders. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cale. This is going to be extremely valuable. We're into budget now, so these results will certainly help council in making some decisions going forward. So very much appreciated.
Thank you.
Can I get a motion that council receive the results of the Cranbrook Citizen Survey Budget 2026 final report as presented? Mover, please. Councillor Stetsky, Councillor Bassett. Discussion, all in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you.
So Mayor Price, all we need is a motion to extend the meeting.
A motion to
extend the meeting past 9 o'clock. That's all we need.
Okay, yeah, okay. Can I get a motion to extend the meeting past 9 o'clock? Councillor Stetsky, Councillor Peabody, discussion, all in favor? Okay, that was pretty quick, eh?
Make good decisions after 9 o'clock. The committee of the whole later this week. We could tack this on because there's some important stuff here. And we also have, we are going to go for another, at least half an hour.
Yeah.
So,
I didn't do the discussion.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. So, yeah. Okay, I better back this up. Can I get a motion to extend the meeting beyond 9 o'clock? The movers were Councillor Stetsky and Councillor Ray. Discussion. Right?
so there, I think I have some things to bring up for councillors' report. It's an increase. And we also have some things to make decisions on. This is a very long agenda. We had a big public hearing tonight. I think we should tack this meeting on to our committee of the whole, which is a public meeting, which is scheduled for Wednesday at 9.
Okay, so that's a special meeting. We can't vote at a council, a committee of the whole meeting.
Mayor Price, we would need to create a special meeting of council that would
Yes.
follow the committee of the whole meeting.
That's fine. And then what do we need, 48 hours or something for that? Yeah,
We have plenty
48
of time.
hours, so we got enough time? Is everybody good with that? Councillor Stetsky?
Yeah, so I'm going to be away from the 22nd to the 30th. So if we're going to postpone any of these, if they're not critical, I'd prefer they be on the next council meeting agenda rather than a separate committee of the whole.
Councillor?
Yeah, I think there's probably a couple things that are timely with the Briar that probably needs to be on there. Here with Briar happening, not the Briar, but Norman's thinking curling.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So the sentiment is we don't go beyond 9 o'clock tonight. Is that fair? Okay, so we got 2 minutes to make a decision here. Committee, special meeting before or after the committee of the whole, or the next council meeting? What's your flavor? Just a rough thing for the committee of the whole, or the next council meeting. So yeah, you kind of blurred there, Wayne. So we're good with that. Good. Okay. And then you know what? We'll do reports as well at the same time on that one. Alrighty. With that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Councillor Blachette, Councillor Peabody. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you, guys.